Good evening, everyone. I'm Alison Mangiero. I'm the Senior Director of the Adam Smith Society, and I'm just so excited to see all of you here tonight for our 5th national meeting. A few notes before we begin this evening's program. First, if you haven't downloaded our app, which will give you the program for the entire weekend and give you ways to interact with one another throughout the meeting, it is available both at the App Store and on Google Play. Just type in Adam Smith Society, and you'll be able to download the Adam Smith Society app. Second, we encourage you to post on social media during all of our sessions. The hashtag is SmithSoc17. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat. Our handle is SmithSoc. The Twitter and Instagram feeds, by the way, if you hashtag your post with SmithSoc17, will populate in the fabulous social media wall that you probably saw out in the gallery. If not, check it out. But perhaps most importantly, we have some fabulous geofilters on Snapchat, including one where you can put your face in Adam Smith's Wealth of Nations, the cover of the book. So please take advantage of that this weekend. Make all of your friends jealous of your snaps coming out of the national meeting. We have an all-star lineup for you this weekend. And I am honored to kick things off, as we do, by introducing the woman we affectionately refer to around here as the godmother of the Adam Smith Society. This is not an exaggeration. From the day 6 years ago when she partnered with the Manhattan Institute, based on the idea that would eventually become the Adam Smith Society, she has provided leadership in the form of actual capital and, more importantly, intellectual capital. She believes deeply in our mission, she lives it, she evangelizes it. She is an intellectual businesswoman of the first order who is unafraid to publicly defend business and our capitalist system. I'm referring, of course, to Marilyn G. Fedak. Marilyn had a storied career on Wall Street. After joining Sanford C. Bernstein in 1984 as a portfolio manager, she served as AllianceBernstein's chief investment officer for U.S. large-cap value equities from 1993 to 2009. She became the business head of Bernstein Global Value Equities. In 2009, she was named the vice chair of investment services. She was president of the Sanford C. Bernstein Mutual Funds. She was a partner at AllianceBernstein. She served on Sanford C. Bernstein's board of directors. She created and led AllianceBernstein's talent development team. She has a CFA, a BA from Smith, and an MBA from Harvard. So I think it's safe to say that Marilyn knows a little bit about investing. But perhaps more importantly for all of us in the room, she also knows the importance of investing in talent. She views her participation in the Adam Smith Society as an investment in leaders of consequence, a class of intellectual businessmen and women that will be able to influence the force of our country for years to come. Marilyn had the foresight 6 years ago to recognize your talent and the value of the network we could build as capitalists for capitalism. She knew that if we were able to create a society for intellectual business leaders and give them the tools to engage in thoughtful, nuanced arguments about the value of our economic system, that our country would be the better for it. In that 6 years, we've grown this network from 4 members at Harvard Business School to a network of over 6,500 members. We're convening a national meeting this weekend where 30 of our nation's best business schools are represented, and we have alumni members here from all over the country. And if Marilyn could meet with every single one of the 6,500 members we had, believe me, she would. She visits as many chapters as possible each year to talk to you about how to lead for a free market. She's opened her home to us for treks and retreats. She wants to know you to make sure that we are giving you the tools you need to make sure the society's mission is realized. I always like to point out, though, my favorite fact about Marilyn is that she was a cheerleading captain in high school. And it really is that spirit, along with her vision and her devotion to the society, that has helped really drive our success. Simply put, without her leadership, the Adam Smith Society would not exist. So, without further ado, please join me in welcoming the woman who's the reason we're all sitting in the room tonight, the Adam Smith Society's godmother, and may I say, cheerleader-in-chief, Vice Chair Emeritus of AllianceBernstein, and the founder of the Marilyn G. Fedak Capitalism Project, Marilyn G. Fedak.
You know, I have to say, when I was listening to Alison's introduction of me, which was lovely, to say the least. In fact, I would like to have it taped, put it on my iPhone, and listen to it first thing every single morning as an affirmation. And you know, when she was going through all the things that I did during my 40 years on Wall Street, first of all, I had two reactions to it. Number one, it was like, wow, I did all those things? You know, for a minute, I was almost like impressed with myself, you know? But the second thing was, and this is the more important thing from the standpoint of you guys, is that I had a wonderful career on Wall Street. I loved every single minute of it. But I got to tell you, there is nothing that I did in those 40 years that I am prouder of, that I think will have as much long-lasting impact as my part in founding the Adam Smith Society. It's all to you. All to you. And, you know, when I look around the room and I see all of you guys, I'm kind of uncharacteristically like speechless. I mean, the word that kind of keeps coming to mind is wow, wow. You know, I can't believe from this idea that we had, me and the Manhattan Institute 6 years ago, what has come from it. And I'd love to take credit for it. I think Alison gave me more credit than I deserve. I'd love to take all the credit for it, but I can't, we can't. You know, look, the guys at the Manhattan Institute and I, we could have sat around boardrooms all day coming up with great ideas, but they wouldn't have amounted to anything without you, our members. You know, without your passion and your enthusiasm for this mission, for what it is that we do. So I want to thank all of you, and I particularly want to thank the chapter leaders, past, present, and future, and I've already seen the 3 generations here in the room today, because you have put so much work, so much time into making this a success. Thank you all so much. You guys. Now, I think that many of you know why and how we founded the Adam Smith Society, but for those of you who don't, it really all came to us in the depths of the financial crisis. You know, I was at the time actively managing money. I was glued to the business news day and night, and it was quickly becoming apparent that the critics of our free market system were using this as an opportunity to bash capitalism. They were blaming the crisis on just one thing, the free markets. And I can remember sitting there and thinking to myself, who are these guys? What are they, idiots? Don't they understand that capitalism is so much a part of what has made this country so great? Now, why is it that we think that capitalism is so important? Well, as we see it, the benefits of our system fall into 3 major buckets. The first of these are the pragmatic benefits of capitalism. You know what they are, right? I mean, economic growth, job creation, innovation, social mobility. These benefits are well known. They're recognized on both sides of the political aisle, but we take them for granted. We shouldn't, we can't. They are fundamental to our way of life. Secondly, the morality of capitalism. Now, this is something you don't hear very often, right? That capitalism is moral. Adam Smith, of course, was the first to recognize this and to popularize it. He understood what capitalism could be, and in fact, since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, capitalism has allowed hundreds of millions of people to pull themselves out of poverty and to better their way of life. There is no other economic system in the world that has been able to do this. Do you think that's moral? I think that's moral. Thank you. Thank you. And last, the strong connection between our personal freedoms and our economic system. Look, if you can't retain what you own or earn, if you can't hire and fire at will, if you can't enter freely into contracts and speak your mind without fear of retaliation, then you really aren't free, are you? In short, if you don't have economic autonomy, you don't have personal liberty. It's as simple as that. Now, to make sure that capitalism would continue to survive and thrive, the Manhattan Institute and I wanted to create an organization that would have impact for many years to come. And so we decided to start the Adam Smith Society on business school campuses. What we wanted to do was to get MBAs exposed to these ideas and to form a like-minded community of future business leaders who wouldn't be afraid to advocate for the free markets in the future. To promote such discussions, we've enlisted what we think are an A-class group of free market thinkers and business leaders to visit our campuses. Just to drop a few names, I love to drop names, our speakers last year included David Goldhill, Bobby Tudor, David Booth, Dr. and former Senator Tom Coburn, Kimberly Strassel, and Larry Kudlow, among others. We're also actively encouraging chapters to sponsor debates. Look, it's not enough just to preach to the choir, though you guys are a wonderful choir, and that's important too. We've got to bring in other students who haven't thought about these ideas or who are actively opposed to them. Debates give them a forum to hear both sides of the issues and make up their own minds. We sponsored over 20 debates last year on topics ranging from automation and artificial intelligence to the future of free trade. And finally, we're providing our members with educational opportunities outside of the classroom. You all know about our book, What Adam Smith Knew, and our weekly newsletter. So let me tell you a little bit about our newest initiative, Smith Sock Treks. Each trek provides a small number of our members, both students and alums, with the opportunity to engage with experts in discussion on various policy issues and philosophical ideas. This year, or I guess it's actually last year, we hosted a trek on energy in Las Cobas. We talked about healthcare in Napa Valley. And the third on capitalism, pro and con, was in Boca Raton. So you see I've mentioned where they were because they're like really nice locales, and I'm sure you would all like to go to them. I have to tell you, I attended the last of these, the capitalism pro and con, as one of the members of the discussion group. And I've got to tell you, it was the best intellectual experience of my life. It was intoxicating, is all I can say about it. It was amazing. And there are some of my fellow Smith Sock Trek members in the room today, and I hope that you'll get to speak to them, and I think they will say exactly the same things. Well, I'm not the only one who was so enthusiastic about this newest initiative. There's been a great demand for them. So we are committing to putting on at least 2 per semester now, divided pretty equally between philosophical ideas and policy issues. And I hope that all of you will try and take the opportunity to attend. Now, much has changed since we founded the Society 6 years ago, but the need to support capitalism is as great as ever. Anti-capitalist forces in our society are pervasive, they're prevalent, and it's particularly pronounced among young people. I'm going to give you a really depressing statistic here. A survey done by the Harvard Institute of Politics in 2016 found that among 18 to 34-year-olds, only 38% supported capitalism. And here's the really bad news. Almost the same number, 33%, supported socialism over capitalism. Socialism? Socialism? I mean, These was, I mean, seriously? And I know, I'm going off on tangent here, and Alison's looking at me, so I'll try and keep this short. But, I mean, so it was 18 to 34-year-olds. So you have to assume like 99.9% of these people had gone to high school. Didn't anyone ever tell them that socialism has failed dismally every single place it's been tried? I guess not. Okay. But in fairness to them, there are many reasons why this anti-capitalist bias has become so rampant. And one of them is because we don't have truly free markets in many sectors of our economy. Instead, we have a crony capitalism that links the interest of big government to big business and big labor. It stands in the way of equal opportunity, job creation, innovation, and our quality of life. Let me give you a few examples. First, healthcare. As the FDA has become more and more bureaucratic and risk-averse, the time and money that pharmaceutical companies need to invest in new drugs has skyrocketed. It now takes, on average, 11 years for a successful drug in the lab to get to market. 11 years. And even for generics, which should be a no-brainer, right? It's 4 years. And the cost to companies is $1.5 to $2 billion on average. As a result, important new drugs are not being made available quickly to people who need them, and some may never come to market. And with all the brouhaha about the very high price of certain pharmaceuticals that we've heard over the past year or two, keep in mind that this kind of sclerotic action on the part of the FDA is stifling competition, and competition is the best antidote to high drug prices. Secondly, the financial industry. When I graduated from business school in the early 1970s, okay, I'm waiting for the gasps of amazement in the room, so far I'm hearing like nothing. Okay, I'll just keep going on here. When I graduated from business school in the early 1970s, there were 24,000 independent banking companies in the United States. Today, there are only 7,000. Why? The legislation and regulation, such as the Community Reinvestment Act and Dodd-Frank, are just too cumbersome and costly for smaller banks to be profitable and compete with larger institutions. Some industry insiders predict that the number of independent banks could fall to under 1,000 in the not-distant future. That doesn't augur well for the ability of small businesses to get financing, and that isn't good for future entrepreneurs like you and our economy. And for those of you that think that technology is somehow insulated from all of this, there was a terrific article today in the Manhattan Institute Daily Update about the legislative and regulatory onslaught of attacks on Airbnb. Read it. I think you'll be shocked by what's going on. If our country is to prosper, if future generations are to thrive, we've got to turn this around. How can this be done? I'd hate to tell you this, guys. It's up to you. I think my generation kind of took our eye off the ball. We didn't pay attention to what was happening around us. You are. You are the future leaders of the business community that will lead this charge for positive change. Our job at Adam Smith, Alison said it earlier, our only job is to support you in this effort while you're in school and throughout your careers. The mission you're embarking upon won't be easy, but I know, I've met so many of you, and I know that your passion, your drive, your creativity, your talent, you're not going to let this stand in your way. You're going to get it done. You're going to get it done for the sake of your future, for the future of your children, your grandchildren, and for our country. And for that, I and everybody at Adam Smith thanks you so much. We owe you so much. Thank you, guys.